Alright, this is a chessvideos.com training video, and this is a beginner video on the basics of checkmating with a king and rook. I mean, it's not that difficult to learn, and a lot of players, even though they don't really know it, can sort of play along until they end up checkmating their opponent. But I think it's really key that players understand the most efficient way to checkmate their opponent, because in a blitz game or a tournament game, if you're low on time, you won't always, you'll want to take the minimum amount of moves. So this is pretty easy to learn, and in a few viewings, then you try it on your own, you'll pick it up in no time. The key concept is that with white, when you're checkmating, you want to force your opponent to the edge of the board, get the opposition with the kings, we'll see what that means, and then just deliver a rook check, which will be checkmate. So the first key is to cut the king off, so you play rook a5, and now the king is trapped on these parts of the board. Now, first we're going to look at the most efficient way if black plays to delay mate the longest, and then we'll look at more obvious ways that black can play it. So he plays king e6, and now you start to centralize your king to get it within, range here. King c2, king e7. Now if he keeps going back, you just keep, bringing your rook up and cutting him off even more. So now king d8, and now again rook a7. So now if he starts to come towards your rook, you know that next move he's going to be able to attack it. So you want to anticipate moving your rook away and start bringing your king where that rook's going to be so that you can defend it if he brings his king across and attacks your rook again. So king c8, you might want to play king d3, and then if he attacks it with b8, you can come to f7 because you see that just in time as he gets to attack your rook, you'll be there too. So say he tries king c8, king e4. So now you've got the king on the edge, so you just want to chase him, hunt him down. King d5. Now he's gained a tempo because he's managed to attack your rook, but you can defend it. And now rook d8, and like I said, you want to just sort of force the king to one edge and then into the corner. So rook e7, king c8, king d6, king b8, and now king c6. He can't come back. This is an example I was talking about the opposition. If the king comes back now, your king is preventing him from advancing to any of these squares, so if you deliver a rook check, it's checkmate. So this is what the final position you want to achieve when checkmating with the king and rook looks like. So he can't play back to c8, so he's got to play here to hide in the corner, and then you just come to b6, and he has no choice but to walk into checkmate. So that's the basic idea of checkmate. You want to force your king, the enemy king, to the edge of the board, get the opposition where your king is facing off with his king, and then deliver a rook check, which will be checkmate. So if we go back to rook a5, if we imagine that black is playing sort of, trying to attack the rook as quickly as possible to force it to move, we can look at it this way. Now we'll move away, and then this is the perfect distance because as he gets towards the rook, your white king will approach. King c6, king c3, here, and then king d4, king c6. Now here, we're slowly, minimizing the area where the king can go. Now he's stuck on these 9 squares as opposed to all these squares before. So he's got to come to b6, and now if he comes, instead of king b6, he comes back here, you'll force him back even more by bringing your king in. And now if he comes to the edge of the board, if he comes here, you can check him here, and you'll see that he's been forced to one edge of the board. And now you'll see that a common tactic when mating with the king and rook is you get a position like this, in which the black king is going to have to come to a5 or move over this way into the opposition if your rook covers the other square. So you just move the rook, and he's got to come over, and again we have the standard position, and we have checkmate on a different side. So we were back at this position, and we played rook d5, and say he plays king b6. We're just going to play rook c5 to shrink his area even more. Now he's down to 6 squares. King a6, king c4. Now if he comes back, we can just come to b4. And then king a6, and now we can start checking him and forcing him even farther down the board. King c5 or king a5. The idea being if he comes here, we can do the tactic I just showed where we come back and we know we're going to have to force the king over. a7, check. Now he's got to come back again, and then we come here. And this is the other position, I guess. Since the king is at the corner, you can just checkmate him here. So this is the standard idea. You just want to force your king to the edge of the board and deliver checkmate. So while I think that this is something that most players can figure out while they're playing, it's important to know this cold even as a beginner because you could be stuck in this position with a little amount of time. So if you just focus on this and you try it once or twice, doing the most efficient way, you'll pick it up quickly, and it's a valuable piece of chess knowledge. And if you want to see more training videos like this, feel free to check out chessvideos.com.